Hey guys, Will here, and today I'm going to be doing a video on which iPod you should buy in 2024. So this is going to be like general categories of iPods. This isn't going to be a video where I just pick out a single iPod and call it the best. It's just going to be an overall category. So I have touches, nanos, the mini, classics, and the shuffle. So pretty much I'm just going to be going over like how they hold up in 2024. So first, let's start off with the iPod Touch. Now, the iPod Touch was great at the time. Nowadays, not so much. They have small amounts of storage. As you can see, 8 gigs, 8 gigs, 8 gigs, and you could get them in like 64 gigs, but at the time they were really expensive, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Most iPhones only had this kind of storage also, but nowadays, if you want an iPod, you're not really going to be using it how these iPod Touches were made to be used, which is pretty much just as like a device where you can just like hand your kids, be like, here's a device that's pretty much like a tiny iPad. You can play your games, you can listen to like 2 songs if you want to, and browse the internet. But nowadays, you want an iPod as a music player, and yeah, pretty much. There's a reason why I don't have a single actual working iPod Touch. So, yeah, let's move on to the iPod Shuffle. Now, these things can be good. You're going to most likely need to replace the battery because I've seen a lot of these with bad batteries. But they can work, and the sound quality is not great. They have tiny amounts of storage. This one has 1 gig, which can hold, I think I have like around 200 songs on this. Maybe like 150, I don't know. But it can't hold that much. This is 2nd gen. I think you could get some with 4 gigs, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they had a 3rd gen model with 4 gigs, but most of them are 2 or 1. The 1st gen was also offered in 512 megabytes. Now let's move on to the nanos. So these were great at the time. They were these tiny little iPods that had somewhat decent amount of storage. This one, these are both like the base model iPods of the time. This only had 2 gigs. This is a 2nd gen. This is a 3rd gen and it only had 4 gigs. This 5th gen has 8 gigs, and you could get the 4th gen in 16 gigs. I don't know about any other iPod Nano. I'm pretty sure you could also get the 7th gen, but 7th gens are expensive. 6th gens are somewhat expensive, and honestly now all Nanos are kind of expensive. I think the cheapest ones are probably the 2nd gens. And then next, let's move on to the minis. So these can be good. It depends on what model you have. So this is a 1st gen. You can tell because there's no storage on here, and because it says 2004 right there. Sorry about the dog barking. And also, I'm pretty sure the 2nd gen colors were like a little more vibrant, and the 1st gen colors were like slightly more pastel. So like this would have been a little bit more like a hot pink instead of this like pastel kind of pink. But on the 2nd gens, it'll say either 4 gigs or 6 gigs, like right about here, and it'll say 2005 instead of 2004. And also these, like the text on the click wheel where it says menu and like the play pause icon and stuff, those would be pink to match the shell if it was a 2nd gen. But on the 1st gens, all colors are just gray. And on the 2nd gens, you can actually flash mod them up to 256 gigs, which if you don't know what flash modding is, pretty much you take out the physical spinning hard drive in this and replace it with an SD card using an adapter. And yeah, these 1st gens, I don't know the exact limit, but I'm pretty sure it's either 64 or 128. And then finally, the iPod Classics. So these are pretty much everybody's favorites because they're just like a classic iPod. It's the full-size iPod, and they're just the biggest iPod with the most storage. This one doesn't have that much because it's old, but they have the most storage. This is a 3rd gen, which this is my favorite iPod ever made, and it's because of this. As you can see, these icons light up bright orange with the screen, and all these buttons are touch. If I put on hold, none of these buttons actually like press in at all. And yeah, 4th gen. This is a 4th gen. It's very similar. It just has a click wheel pretty much. And this is a weird HP model. And then this is a 5th gen. This is a 60 gig model, and it's got some random dude's name in the back. But this is the one everybody loves. Everybody likes the 5th gen, specifically the 5.5 gen, which is exactly the same iPod. It just has, I think, like a slightly better audio chip, and it has a search option in the menu, like in the music menu. But yeah, now if you want a 6th gen, it looks exactly like this, but they have a metal front. They're impossible to open, pretty much. I had to pry the back shell apart pretty much to open the one that I have, which unfortunately is not here right now. It's over across the room, and I don't feel like getting up to get it. So yeah, overall I would recommend the classics just because they're overall the best. If you want a little bit smaller of an iPod, get a mini. They got great sound quality. I've heard the 2nd gens are better. I don't own a 2nd gen, so I want to know. Just don't get a touch. Don't get a shuffle. And if you get a Nano, change the battery. I would recommend 4th or 5th gen. I'd recommend a 16 gig 4th gen is the best Nano. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video. So I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please smash that like button. And if you're a new subscriber, next time.